Girl versus change.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Gusman, and I'm currently playing Linnea in The Book of Holding On, which is a new musical written by the lovely Sarah Hirsch, the book writer, lyricist, and composer of this brand new piece. And I have the privilege of talking with her today a little bit more about the show and how it came to be. Thank you so much for meeting with me today, Sarah. I'm really excited to pick your brain and find out new things about the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What is your relationship with SCU?
2 years ago, I had the great pleasure of music directing their production of Spelling Bee, directed by Jeff Bracco. I had an amazing time doing that. Last spring, I was all ready to music direct The Secret Garden, but unfortunately it was canceled because of COVID.
But at least we have the ability to still work with you in some capacity. It's different and very, very exciting. What inspired you and how did you start the journey of becoming a playwright and a composer?
I have loved writing musicals ever since I was about 10 years old. I'm not sure exactly how I got into it, except for the fact that my dad is a writer and my mom is a music history professor. So I was surrounded by stories and music from a young age. But yeah, around age 9 or 10, somehow I got my younger sister, Joni, into making up stories with me in our living room, to which we would add songs. One in particular that we worked on was about a clumsy angel who kept tripping over her nightgown. And all of the other angels picked on her. With our dad's encouragement, because he heard us singing some of the songs in the car one day, we developed it into this hour-long musical. Just for fun, but then a local theater group happened to be looking for a show to put on and found out about this show. So I ended up getting this community production with this big cast, elementary through high school students. And the whole experience was just absolutely amazing to watch a story that we had just made up out of nowhere and these little songs we had written suddenly be performed on a stage in front of an audience. So we found that experience so exciting that I kept doing it every few years. And it just sort of became, my biggest passion, writing musical theater, to the point where when I entered college, it was really the main thing that I was excited to study. So I was able to start formally studying book writing, lyric writing, and composing in college, and then continued studying them in grad school at NYU at the Tisch Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program.
So how long did it actually take you to create this piece?
I started writing it in the summer of 2018. So it's been almost 3 years now. The general wisdom is that it often takes a musical about 7 years from start to finish. So yeah, I'm right in the middle of the process right now. It's undergone a bunch of different drafts. This will be the first full production that it has had. And I assume after this, we will try to put it up in further readings and workshops and keep refining the script and score, and then eventually aim for full productions again.
Can you tell us a little bit about the musical, but with no spoilers, because we want to save that for the audience to come and experience it for themselves?
So The Book of Holding On is about a 13-year-old girl named Emmy, who is absolutely terrified of change. And there is a huge amount of change happening in her life right now. For one, she is finally a teenager. Her best friend is thinking about going off to boarding school, and her parents are having some marital issues. Those, amongst other changes, really test Emmy's ability to go with the flow and let things be and accept all of this change. She does her very best to do that. She starts a Buddhism group at school. She starts writing this collection of fables called The Little Book of Letting Go, all in this effort to accept change. But eventually, when more changes occur, she's pushed to a breaking point and decides that she is going to take matters into her own hands and do something about all of this change.
In the show, you were explaining how that Emmy writes a little book of letting go. In that book, there's a collection of fables. So some of the animals that are included are the bear and the squirrel and the whale. If you were to add another animal, what animal would you want to add? Or if there was another animal and it was cut in some way, what was it?
There was not another animal that was cut. But that's a great question. So each of the fables is about, since it's called The Little Book of Letting Go, each one is about a different aspect of letting go. So one of the fables is about letting go of physical possessions. Another is letting go of fear. Another is letting go of grief. I think if I were going to add one, I would start from the place of what is another aspect of letting go I could explore. And the first thing that's coming to mind right now might be letting go of control. Which is sort of what the whole show is about. And then if I were going to try to come up with an animal who could somehow represent that, Maybe I would choose something like a spider with like a carefully constructed web around her, and she would need to learn how to like let go of control of the web.
Can you describe the show in 3 words?
Girl versus change. If I were going to choose 3 adjectives, I would say whimsical, poignant, and surprising.
I love whimsical. That's a very good description for the show. But if you had a chance to play a character in this show, who would you want to play? And is there a character that you relate to the most out of all of the characters in the show? Like you see yourself in them.
So first of all, I'll say I'm definitely not a performer. The last time I acted was in 5th grade, and that was under duress. I've always preferred to be backstage or under the stage in the pit at the piano. If I were an actress, I actually think that I would most want to play the part that you play, Linnea. As you know, she's a character who seems to have everything going for her. She is very precocious and cheerful and likable, excellent student, but underneath all of that, she's harboring this really scary secret. And I think that that would be a fun challenge to tackle as an actor. And then for your second question, I definitely relate the most to Emmy. Particularly, I think that I was a fair amount like Emmy when I was in middle school. So in the show, I draw a lot on my middle school experiences. The friendship between Emmy and Linnea is loosely based on the friendship between me and my best friend. All of the antics of the cafeteria crowd, their group of friends, are based on the cafeteria group that we had in middle school. Even the English independent study that Emmy and Linnea take part in is based on an English independent study that my friend and I were part of. So yeah, I definitely relate a lot to Emmy, particularly in fear of change. That is something I remember feeling really acutely on the day that I turned 13, actually. I remember standing outside of middle school, just feeling like my world had completely changed forever. My childhood was gone. I think I was crying about it. Being very dramatic, but that sense of fear of change has really stayed with me throughout my life. I'd say is actually the main thing that inspired this show.
Most importantly though, like why do you think people need this show right now in their lives?
Obviously, this past year has been a year of an enormous amount of change for so many people, just an incredibly tumultuous year for a lot of people, full of a lot of anxiety. And I think this show opens the door to have conversations about what I'm assuming a lot of people have felt, which is terror about all of the change that's happening around us and all of the uncertainty and the things that we can't control. I think this show is also a reminder to us that kids and adolescents were incredibly impacted by this past year, just as much as and perhaps more than adults were. And I think sometimes we forget that mental health issues can be enormously impactful on kids. The show deals with a lot of serious issues that I think have been swirling around this past year and that a lot of people have been feeling. On the other hand, the show actually is pretty funny in a lot of parts and has, as we said, it's whimsical, has fantasy elements. And I think that that lightheartedness is also something that's important to have right now as well. So we're not only kind of dealing in the serious realm all of the time.
What do you hope people take away from the show?
I hope they leave with a sense of hopefulness about our ability to cope with change, even if it's terrifying. And also the sense that even when we are dealing with enormous change, we are still allowed to celebrate and carry with us the stuff that makes us who we are. We don't need to completely let go of our pasts. I hope that people walk away with a sense that there is some way to combine the ideas of letting go and holding on ultimately.
Thank you so much for talking with me, Sarah, and letting me know just a little bit more of what it's like to be on the opposite side of the table. And from a creation standpoint, it's so incredibly powerful. And I'm really excited for people to see this piece and to do it justice. So we really hope that you can all come out to see The Book of Holding On. It starts streaming on May 21st. And it runs through the weekend. So please be sure to come out and watch and be taken away into this whimsical, magical journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.